Okay, so everyone can hear me, everyone can see the PowerPoint fine? Okay, thank you. So my name is Mallory. I am a nutrition instructor with Eat Smart Idaho, and Kaylee here is my supervisor, and she'll be monitoring the chat box. How I like to do this is kind of a discussion based with some questions. So throughout, I'll be having some polls and questions. There's not that many of you on this call, so if you want, you can just unmute and answer and talk about it, or you can type in the chat. That's totally fine too. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about shop for value and check the facts. So with that, I have our first very poll. So right away, just going to launch that and give you a few moments. And if you could just answer to your best ability. Honesty is great. We're all just here to learn and get a gauge of where we're at. Awesome. So most of you, you know, sometimes when I have the time. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what I do. So it can be kind of tedious. Like if you look at this label right here with all the nutrition facts, it's just like kind of a jumble, and just when you're in the store and you're grabbing your go-tos, you're not really going to be looking at it. But maybe if you have time every once in a while, maybe you could take some time and really look at it and look at where you're at with your go-to products right now, how we can compare that. So really, why do we want to even look at the nutrition facts? What does it even tell us? I'll give you a few moments to type something in. I'll start with what I like to look at. So the reason I look at nutrition facts label is mostly for the added sugars. It doesn't say this on this label right here, but I love looking at added sugars because that's just really important to me. So it kind of varies at what you're looking for and what's important to you and your family. So let's see what we have here. Kaylee says to help us make better and healthier choices at the store. A.M. Vandergift, yes, looks at our intake, meaning our nutrients, our calorie amounts, right? That's really good. Karina says she looks for the fats. That's good. The total fats, the types of fats in there even. Rondi says whole grains, added sugars. Yep. We'll get to that whole grains. Karina also says fiber. Yes, that's a good one. We'll pay attention to that. Oh, Ashley. Thank you. Yes. So, great. We're all on the same page. Yes, what I have written here that we didn't really talk about is the nutrition for our money. So, if we're getting something that's super calorie dense but really low in nutrients, are we really getting the right amount of nutrition for our money, or the best value for our money nutrition-wise? So, another one I have here is about sodium. Some people look at sodium intakes, especially if they're on like a heart healthy diet or have high blood pressure issues. That's it. So let's continue on. So we see this nutrition facts label, and it's broken down here into different sections. So the first thing we're going to look at is the serving size. This is the serving size per container, but it also breaks it down into 1 cup. So listed below is the amount of nutrients found in that 1 cup. So if you had 2 servings or 2 cups, everything there would double. So that would mean 24 grams of fat. And the difference, does anybody know the difference between a serving size and a portion size? And tell me what it is. Go ahead and take a moment and put that in the chat. So I'm going to kick this off here to give you time. You guys had some time to think about it. So serving size is the, hold on, let me look. I don't want to say it wrong. It's the allotted amount that is actually predetermined by what we actually, the average person eats. And now portion size is the amount you actually take, the actual amount you eat and put it on your plate. So a serving size says 1 cup, but what if you eat 3 cups of it? That's your actual portion size, that 3 cups. So I'm going to launch another poll. Okay, great, everybody. All did great. So it is true, the serving size is a standardized amount. It's a predetermined amount based on what people usually eat. Whereas portion size is the amount you actually eat and actually put on your plate. So great job. Okay. So this is just one part of the nutrition facts label that we can use to help our family eat the right amounts for their nutrition and their body size. So here we have 3 different serving sizes. So which bowl of cereal would you usually eat? You can put 1, 2, or 3 in the chat box. Right, I see a lot of varying things. So we're all different, we're all eat different amounts. I would definitely eat 2 cups of cereal. So that's totally okay. But all we have to do is change the amounts of nutrients in this nutrition facts label to match the amount of cereal we're actually eating and the amount of nutrients we're actually consuming. Great. Now, I'm going to move on to the next part of the nutrition facts label. Now, there are a lot of people who look at calories, only calories on nutrition facts labels, because they've put a lot of importance on that fact. And I think that in some cases, yeah, it's important to know how much energy you're using and eating. But this is something I don't want to pay too much attention to. For some instances, whatever it's important to you, this might be a great thing to pay attention to. But this is where you would find it. Nowadays, on the updated label, it is bigger. So you really draw your attention to it first. So that's the calorie section. Now we're going to look at all of these things that really mess people up a lot. So this is actually a super important part. So you see the different colors, the yellow and the blue. So the nutrients in the yellow are ones that we want to limit or get less of, or that we already have plenty of in our diet elsewhere, and we don't need as many of these. And then below in the blue are vitamins and minerals that you want to get enough of. And it's kind of cut off down here, but it says vitamin A, C, potassium, and we'll get to that. But that's just the gist of that. And on an actual nutrition facts label, it's not going to be colored, so just kind of keep this in mind as we're going. So based on this nutrition facts label, if we ate the whole container of whatever this food may be, how many calories would we be having? And if everyone could write that in the chat. Yes, perfect. Yes, so that's just the gist of how you would use the nutrition facts label for calories and serving size. Okay, now let's head on over to, let's actually back up one. We can stay on the same thing, but so if we were looking at fat and if we were thinking that this is really important to us, this is what we want to look at now when we go to the store. This is the one ingredient. So we would be looking at the total fat, saturated fat, and trans fat. Now this is listed under a nutrient that we want to limit. So when you're thinking about that, we want to go over here to the daily value right next to it, and we see a percentage. If that percentage is more than 5%, that means it has a high value of that nutrient. So this one, for example, in 1 cup, it has 12 grams, and it gives you 18% of your daily value of fat in this 1 cup. So that's more of a high value. So this is a high fat product. So that's just one way to use that. And a lot of people do look at cholesterol for heart health and sodium for blood pressure reasons. So this one is a high sodium product at 20%. Okay. And then we also see potassium, dietary fiber, and vitamin A. These are things that we want to get more of. So if you look at potassium, it says 0 grams. So that means it has 0 potassium in it. That means it's a low potassium product. And another key thing that we want to look at is fiber. This helps with so many things: gut health, heart health, and we see it has 0 grams, so that means it's a low fiber product. Okay, more on the daily value. We kind of talked about this. If it has less than 5%, that means it has a low percentage of that nutrient. If it has more than 20%, like the sodium, then it's a high percentage of that nutrient in the product. So if we were looking to limit our sodium intake, this would probably be not as great of a choice as opposed to something that has maybe 200 milligrams of sodium in it. Okay. Now, more mumbo jumbo on this nutrition facts label that might confuse people and why we might not even pay attention to it is that it has all of this stuff at the bottom of each and every nutrition facts label. This is just saying that those percentages we saw before, that is based upon a 2,000 calorie diet. Now, listed here is just a guide for you to pay attention to. If you're consuming about 2,000 calories a day, let's go down to the dietary fiber. You would want to get about 25 grams of fiber per day. So that example of the nutrition facts label we were just looking at had 0 grams of fiber. So it doesn't even get us close to that 25 grams. So we'd want to be looking for products that have high fiber. Okay, we kind of blew through that. Does anyone have any questions about all of the information on the nutrition facts label? Let's kind of back up to what it looked like.
So that also shows like calcium, this product provides a good amount of calcium. So if that's an ingredient or a nutrient that you're trying to increase, this might be a wise choice for that. But
Yes, perfect, Kaylee. Yeah, that one was cut off before, but a lot of, there's only certain vitamins and minerals listed on each nutrition fact label. Like if it has 0, it might not even put it, but there are certain ones that are necessary to include on every nutrition facts label. And those being A, C, calcium, and iron. A lot of those are fortified within a lot of foods. All right, so let's move on. So I know we haven't been sitting here that long already, but let's do a little moving break. Just seated in your chair or standing, that's fine. I'm gonna feet flat on the floor, sit up straight, arms out to the sides if you have room. And then we're gonna do short little arm circles, keeping our shoulders down, forward, and switch, go backwards. Okay, great. And then we're gonna do a chest exercise. It's very simple. Same thing, feet flat on the floor, hands together, kind of in a prayer pose. Shoulders down, kind of push your chest forward and up, and then squeeze your palms together right at the base, and then release. Squeeze your hands together, release. 2 more times. Squeeze your hands together, release. 1 more time, squeeze them. There you go. You can kind of feel it in the chest area and kind of your biceps. So hopefully that'll wake us up a little bit more. All right, so now we're going to move on to more of an exercise. This is more interactive. I'll be asking you a lot more questions now that we've explained the actual nutrition facts label. So here we have 2 crackers, both the same type of nutrient fact label. We can see the one on the left looks more like a saltine cracker, and the one on the right looks more like a whole wheat cracker. Both are fine, both are delicious. Let's just do some comparing. So what's the first thing you notice between these 2 labels? And go ahead, put that in the chat. Yep, Karina says the serving sizes are different. So that's really important to think about. If you're comparing these, how can you compare them if they have different serving sizes? So kind of just keep that in mind. Maybe one has more calories, but you get more crackers for that amount. Okay, the first thing that I notice is definitely the fat amount, the total fat. So we see in the one on the left, the saltine, there's only 1.5 grams of fat, and then the one on the right is 4 grams of fat, and part of that being saturated fat. I also noticed that the sodium level is different too. The one on the left has 170 milligrams, while the one on the right has 150 milligrams. But one of the biggest thing I see is the fiber. So fiber is one of those super important things that we all have to get. And right down here below, it says the amount of grams of dietary fiber we need each and every day is 25 grams. So when we eat 4 crackers on this one on the right, we're getting 1 gram of that 25 grams of fiber. I also see both of these have 4% of iron. That's great. It's still under 5%, so it is a low amount of that nutrient. Great. All right, next one is comparing whole milk and skim milk. Again, if you could in the chat, tell me what you see, what jumps out at you. Karina says skim milk has 0 fat. Yes. Kaylee says she notices the fat and calories. Good. So what skim milk is literally removing fat. So that makes sense that the skim milk has 0 grams of fat, while the whole milk has 8 grams of total fat. So if fat is something that you're really paying attention to, this is a good product to compare on. And if you're looking to reduce your fat, skim milk is a good choice. Rondi says carbs and protein are close. Oh yeah, that's a really good one. So that's one of the reasons why we recommend low fat or skim milk, is because you still get all of the nutrients, the vitamin A, the vitamin C, the vitamin D, calcium, and protein. Those are all the same in each one, but you have less fat. Kaylee says the amount of calcium is about the same for both. Yes. Good. Yeah, so you guys did a great job. All right. This one's fun. Baked potato chips and regular potato chips. So everybody, same thing. What jumps out at you? So the thing that jumps out for me the most is the fat. Yes, Kaylee says, oh, that's about the milk. Hasn't come through yet. So the fat amount. A lot of times people want baked potato chips. I remember when they came out, I was like, whoa, this is a crazy thing. Baked potato chips, who would have thought? So regular potato chips are fried. Baked potato chips are baked. So you need less fat to make these chips than the regular. So I also see that the sodium is very similar. So this isn't something you would want to compare the sodium on. It's about the same if you're going to eat these chips. Either one. Yes. Rondi says calories from fat. Good. Perfect. All right. Cheddar cheese and reduced fat cheddar cheese. Same thing. Write what jumps out at you. The first thing that jumps out at me, surprisingly, is the sodium, actually. It's a lot of times when there's a low-fat product, they sometimes add more sodium in it to balance it out for the consumer taste. So that's just one thing to think about. But this one also is the fat amount. It's the same thing with the milk, where you still get the same amount of protein and calcium, but you have less fat in the reduced fat. So if you're looking to reduce your fat, this is one way to pay attention to that. All right. So the other thing on a nutrition facts label that we haven't talked about yet is the ingredient list. So why do we care about the ingredient list? Someone type in there. Erica says preservatives will show up on this. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, it'll show you all the extra things they add in. Kaylee says you can tell if it's a whole grain product. Yes. Yep, Rondi also says whole grain, and see what kind of other added things they add to it, because most times they have to add it. So yes, the first thing that stands out to me on this one, on this oat cereal, is the whole grain oats. That's great. Okay, so speaking of whole grains, these are two types of bread. And who can tell me how we know if this is a whole grain product or not? Just by looking at it. Erica says, one says whole grain. Yep, and the 100%. Rondi says 100% whole wheat. Okay, yes, you are all very smart and you got it all. So this can trip people up though. So they're both brown. They both say wheat on it, but the catch is it says 100% whole wheat. So that's just the front of the package. So on the back of the package, what we really want to pay attention to is the ingredient list. It's listed in weight of ingredients. So the first ingredient will be the one that has will be the most amount of that one ingredient. So whole wheat flour, that is the main ingredient in this bread on the left. Whereas the bread on the right, the main ingredient is enriched wheat flour. So that right there tells us that the bread on the left is a whole grain product, while the one on the right is a processed wheat product. Yep. Whole grain food, not a whole grain food. Okay, so another thing on that front of the bread package, it didn't trip you guys up, but a lot of times it trips other people up. There's other types of messaging on the front of packages that can give you clues. So this fat-free ranch dressing means that it has less fat in it. This 50% less fat cheese, that means also has less fat, and reduced fat crackers. Those are all true things. So those are different types of messaging that mean different things. So fat-free means it has less than 0.5 grams of serving. Low fat is just 3 grams of fat or less. Reduced fat is 25% less. And light means 50% less fat, or a third fewer calories than the original product. So really, they all mean less fat, but to different degrees. And you can find that out even in more detail by looking at the actual nutrient fact label on the back. Okay, so this is also the same type of messaging, but about salt. So it'll say no salt added, reduced sodium, things like that, low sodium. Just be mindful of that. Still with canned vegetables, you do want to drain and rinse even if it says no salt added. Okay. Another important thing we can find from the nutrient fact label is about food allergens. So a lot of people out there have to look at these ingredients because a lot of processed foods are processed in the same type of plant as other food products. So if someone has a wheat allergy, they need to be paying attention to this because it could have even been processed in this. A gluten-free thing could be processed in the same factory as a wheat product. So that's just something to pay attention to. And nuts, that's a huge one. Okay, what else do we have here? Let me catch up on my page. All right, so that was basically the end of that exercise. You all did really great at figuring out these nutrient fact labels. Let's see. I have one more poll for you. Let's just take that real quick. It says, I will use nutrition facts label when selecting food in the grocery store. Yes, okay. Thank you, everybody. So, wherever you are, totally fine. I don't like using the nutrient fact label all the time, but it is so helpful, and it talks about the transparency of that food. It tells you what you're putting into your body and how much nutrients you're actually eating. And on a separate note, but still related, there are foods that don't have nutrient facts labels, and those also have tons and tons of nutrients in them, in their fruits and vegetables and whole grains. So just keeping that in mind. We like to know how to read nutrient facts labels, but we also want to eat lots and lots of fruits and veggies. Okay.
Mallory, sometimes in the grocery stores, there is a spot in the produce section where people can access the nutrient facts for those items if they're curious. Sometimes grocery stores might have like a booklet somewhere in their produce section, or sometimes on produce bags they'll put a little bit of nutrient information if people are looking, and then of course online they can access it as well outside of the grocery store. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, that's really fun to know. If you're really into this nutrient fact label, look in your local grocery store to where they have that information. That's super cool. Thank you. So my coworker has given us a fun recipe to look at. So let me share a new screen with you so we can watch this recipe video. It's this one. Go away. Okay. I'm gonna play this for you. Oh, the sound isn't working. Okay, can you see it though? It's just music. We'll keep it. Awesome. So, actually, I'm done with that. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Okay. So that was the end of it. If you have any questions, I'll give a few minutes at the end for it, but I just want to do some housekeeping things. We have this recorded, so I will send that out to you, and so you can pass it along with your participants. And there is a survey that goes along with this, and for anyone who does the survey, right after they watch the video, they will receive an incentive item, which is a reusable bag, shopping bag. I use them all the time. They're great. And yeah, just answer to your honest ability. Did you have
Valerie
something?
will also email the recipe card as well.
Oh,
So
yes. In that email, I'll have the recording, a handout with those exercises with the nutrient fact label on them, the recipe card, and the survey link. So all of that will be on there. And thank you all for participating. I know it was not as many people, but that's okay. I appreciate all of your input. So yeah, I think we're good. Everybody have a really great day. And again, if you have any more questions, please email me anytime. All right, bye.